So far you've got a pass grade. You should have described and explained 2 different animations or film, one from the past and one from the present, and maybe for different purposes. You should have looked at 2 publications, maybe a comic or a program or a magazine, again one past and one present, and again possibly for different purposes. And you should have looked at 2 games or 2 apps, again past and present, and possibly for different purposes. This gets you a pass grade. On the new 9-to-1 grading system, this is equivalent to around about a grade 4. We're now going to try and move up to a grade 5 or grade 6, which is a merit. To do that, you need to compare your 2 moving images and your 2 publications and your 2 apps or games. Compare, well, when you're comparing something can either be the same or different. Good words to use are for different, whereas, and for the same, similar. And so that you can scaffold or put together your work, I'm going to run through different categories. Purpose, what it's for. Audience, who it's for. Pre-production, what you need to do before you start making your animation. Production, how you make it. And post-production, what you do with it once it's made. So I'm now going to compare the purpose of Creature Comforts versus the Countryside Code. They're quite different, so I'm going to use the word whereas. So I'm going to say something along the lines that Creature Comforts is used to provide information about how people should behave and the rules to follow once they're in the country, whereas Simpsons is for pure entertainment. In terms of the audience, I suppose they're similar in a way that families could sit down and would watch both of them. It's important that families follow the Countryside Code. Mostly adults would then instruct younger children then about the rules and say, do you remember seeing Creature Comforts on the television? How should we behave in the countryside? So it's mainly aimed at adults, but then feeding down to children. Whereas, so different, whereas The Simpsons is mainly based at younger people, maybe a teenage audience. However, there are some similarities that maybe a family might sit down and watch The Simpsons together, because it does have some adult humour in there. Production. So how it's made. Well, Creature Comfort is made by pre-production, so the storyboard is made probably hand-drawn, whereas the Simpsons storyboard, because the Simpsons is made on a computer, probably the software would make the storyboard as you're going along. However, a similarity is that they both have storyboards. So here you could say they both have storyboards that are produced before you make the animation. However, Claymation might use a hand-drawn storyboard, whereas The Simpsons might use a computer-generated storyboard using a piece of software and a computer. Production, how they are made. So this is quite different. I'm going to use the word whereas. Countryside Code, Creature Comforts, is made using models from clay. They change the position of the model, take a photograph and change it again. This is very slow to do because you're taking a series of photographs, and it takes about 1 day to make 1 second of animated footage. This means that the claymation films are limited to short films, maybe one-off films and adverts, whereas something like The Simpsons, because it's computer generated, can be made much more quickly. You don't have to use physical models, clay models. You can make the images on screen, tweak and change them slightly, and make your animation much more quickly. That means the turnaround time is much quicker, and it can be used for something like a TV series where there might be a different episode every week or two. So I've used the word whereas because they're very different. One using claymation, moving clay models and taking photographs, and The Simpsons using software CGI animation, merely using the computer to produce the drawings and then change them and animated them. Post-production, this is how it's going to be used. Well, there are some similarities because they're both going to be used on screen, mainly on television, maybe through a website, through YouTube. So the similarities are that they're both produced and going to be shown on screen. The main screen that are going to be shown through is probably either YouTube or the television. They do, however, so there is a whereas as well, post-production, something like Creature Comforts, would show the same episode repeatedly, so again and again through a TV advertisement, because it takes a long time to produce, so there'll only be one of them, whereas The Simpsons is updated once a week, so once they've seen it, they need a new version of it because it's for entertainment. So different versions, different episodes for Simpsons, whereas the Creature Comforts is going to be a one-off production that's going to be repeated. But they are shown on screen, so they're similar in that respect. I suppose a whereas, The Simpsons might be turned into a film because you can produce a longer length movie when you produce something using CGI or the computer, whereas Creature Comforts, it's less likely that you'd make a full-length feature film. Aardman Animations do produce Wallace and Gromit and things like Chicken Run, so they do produce long-length feature films, but in terms of information, so something providing information, it would be a short advert and probably less likely to be shown at the cinema.